Yeah. Just like had to swim partly to get here.
I'm telling you what, I appreciate you coming out on a wet, nasty old night, and I just about thought about when it was just coming down in sheets coming out here, man. I'm telling you.
I got hail today. Yeah.
You got hail? Really?
Yeah. When it first came through the first time.
Huh. We didn't have any hail out where we were. We're out South Church, but folks. Kelly's here, and some of you already know if you follow on Facebook, you know what I'm going to be talking about. We're talking about gun control. Oh, well,
or the lack thereof.
Of it. Yeah, thank you. And Kelly and I have been talking, and we've talked about this before, a number of topics. She wrote back today and said, what do you want to talk about tonight? I said, well, we can talk about gun control. We can talk about immigration. We can talk about abortion. We can talk. I gave her a whole list, a litany of things that we could talk about. Okay, but we're going to try and keep it to reasonable gun control tonight. And Kelly's done some research on this over the years. Her father was a gun,
enthusiast.
Yeah. Loved them. Loaded his own ammunition and everything.
Yeah, he was a collector. He was a shooter. He had his own range out by the barn. Taught me how to shoot.
Right.
Yeah, I've shot a copperhead or two. Yeah.
So you've shot. Okay. So you're familiar with weapons.
Yeah.
It's not strange to you. Okay.
No. But also, besides being around them, he was also very, very diligent about teaching us gun safety.
Right.
About how when not to handle them, that you don't aim it at anybody you don't intend to kill.
Right.
That they didn't make one of them and then stop.
Right. Sure.
We were very very rigorously instructed about gun safety from the get-go as soon as we were old enough to understand it.
Right. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about the NRA, and I'm reluctant to do it, but I'll do it. We've had so many shootings, and yesterday here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? 7 are wounded, 8 are dead, I believe. Yeah. Something, and forgive me on the numbers, folks. Literally, they're coming so fast. I can't hardly keep up with them anymore.
We've had 199 mass shootings in the U.S.
I saw that number.
Today,
that is
up
right.
to today, and there aren't that many days in the year yet. So that's more than one a day.
Okay.
In many instances.
Folks, I ask you, I want to hear your comments on this. And I want to thank again Kelly for giving us our guest Angela Wynn last week. Man, what a fireball she is. Where you been hiding her from me? Who else you got out there?
I'm happy to introduce you to lots of people
I would appreciate it. Yeah, but
field.
When I'm having to pay you $500 a pop, she's
those checks haven't cleared yet there.
Well, they will. We're having some rearrangement of the staff. And
I see. Okay.
All right, Jackson's
I'll send you a reminder.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Jackson's on the board, and we're going to kick this thing off now. But for right now, my name is Edwin Lee Raymer, and yes, I'm still a private investigator. Welcome aboard.
This is the Edwin Lee Raymer Show with your host, Ed Raymer, on your good neighbor station, News Radio, WGNS Murfreesboro.
Yes, and that's a little stiff upper lip for you from AC/DC. And this is Edwin Lee Raymer Show, and I'm your host, Ed Raymer. This show is produced at the studios of WGNS AM 1450, 100.5, 101 FM right here in the heart of the great volunteer state, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. You can reach us tonight with your questions, comments, or thoughts at 615-893-1450. I have a feeling we're going to get some calls, Kelly. I really do. I hope we do anyway. Again, 615-893-1450. And you can also send Jackson a text to that number. He'll be glad to read it over the air or write it down, hand it to me or Kelly, one or the other. For those of you that might not be, maybe you're a little too shy to come on. And now you can also watch us via YouTube. And you can find WGNSradio.com. That's the station's website. And you can find that. And all of our shows up here, all of us that have a show here or a broadcast, we have them, they're on podcast, okay? And all of mine for going back over 10 years. And please take a look at that. And check out Angela Bingham on Simplicity. I am really partial to her. I really like her. She's just a good gal. She's doing some good things, and she's done a good thing with that. And she's been on there for 4 or 5 years now, I think, and just a wonderful person. And you can also download, of course, the WGNS app and take WGNS with you wherever you go and listen whenever you wish.
I love Angela's show. She's a bright spot.
She is a bright spot in a Sunday afternoon, a Sunday evening. I'll tell you that right now. She really is. Kelly, tell me more about your dad. Where were you from? You're
Muncie, Indiana.
Muncie, Indiana.
Yep.
I was going to say Chicago. We got a call already?
Close, but no cigar. Yeah, Muncie. And Dad was a hunter. He hunted from the time he was old enough to have a gun and go out with his cousin. He was an avid hunter. He was a member of the NRA for many years.
My uncle was too for years until he said it got to be such a political organization he bowed out.
That was kind of what turned him off too. It used to be used to focus on hunter safety, gun regulations. The NRA actually used to support gun regulations that would keep hunters and shooters safe.
Sure.
And that was very much in line with what law enforcement supported as well.
Sure.
As a matter of fact, law enforcement still supports more gun regulations than legislators do.
So, with your father being a gun enthusiast, he was well versed in the use of guns and all that. I take it you didn't have many boyfriends coming to your house.
I was more concerned with grades than boys to begin with, but I'm sure that he was not shy about expressing that. But
any young man knows the rattle of that 12 gauge, and you do too very well, I'm sure. Yeah. We have a caller on the line. Jackson has us a caller. Caller, please go ahead.
Mr. Raymer, how you doing?
Well, I'm fine. Hello, Jeff. Jeff, this is Jeff.
Yeah. I hope you had a great big week, Mr. Northcutt. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, Jeff. Thanks so much for calling in.
I just wanted to say, y'all were talking about all the guns. So I got a friend of mine that he's been there several times. He's getting ready to go next week to New Zealand. I told him, so he ain't got to worry about guns over there.
Yeah.
He said, I ain't got to worry about it over there. Because they took them all. The league has been several years ago, but they had a lot of mass shootings like America was having. And so whoever their leader was from here, whatever, said, I'm tired of it. She just took all the guns out. Sick and tired of it.
Yeah, and
so you don't hear nothing over there now. No shootings or killings or stabbings or you don't hear nothing about over there.
Yeah, the same thing happened in Australia. They had one mass shooting, and
he told people to over there leave the doors open. Leave the doors open when they're unlocked and all this other.
True. And Jeff, the ironic thing, and Kelly and I have talked about this, we're not talking about going that far.
Oh, no.
No.
Because let me tell you something. I've seen some beautiful weapons. And Kelly, your dad may have had some beautiful pistols.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that, I don't want to take those from anybody, but we're talking about these assault rifles. I don't get it. Jeff, your answer. How do you feel about this?
I don't get it either. I don't know why people would want them. I don't get it. I mean, I think it should be military and police only. I don't get it. I mean, I don't get having an AR-15. I don't understand it. Why you want a machine gun to go out here and, you want to do it faster, I guess, quicker, I reckon. Kill somebody faster and quick, but I don't fit the bone. I don't get it. I mean, when you have a law that says you don't have to be trained, you just go out here and buy a gun with no permit. And
I know.
Carry no permit or don't have no class, you just go out here and go to shooting. What do you expect when you? And then now today they said it's over 200. Now it's 201. It's 201.
Oh really? Oh my goodness.
200.
They've had another two shootings to add to the 199.
It's 201 now that I saw on the news here earlier. On the deal there, but like you said, Emily, when the governor don't want to make no decision. Last hour he wants to have this gun thing in July. Last hour. I guess he'll do it right before we have the 3 month no taxes on groceries.
Oh, the special session that the governor wants to have.
Oh, yeah.
The great tax that we have for say it was $100.
Right.
I got off to save me. Ooh, that's big money. I can fill my gas tank one time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The thing is, the Tennessee GOP, Cameron Sexton, and all the Republicans in the state legislature, they're kind of following their donors and the I guess Federalist Society, ALEC, whoever is telling them they shouldn't do this, or maybe just their own bellwether. But their constituents want common sense gun reform. there's it's kind of across the board, especially after
Everybody
the Covenant
wants
shooting.
Oh, yeah,
People want
it's like
permits.
85%. It's like 85%. It's way up.
Exactly. I think
Kelly
it's 86%.
just gave me that same statistic before we walked in here.
Sir.
Jeff, you got anything else?
What I think, I think people, I think we're so desensitized. I don't think people care anymore. I think it's just like, well, it's part of life with the mass shooting.
I think to a great extent you're right. We've become
I believe that's what it is.
Yeah, we've become immune to it. But I think the Covenant school shooting kind of shook up people in Nashville. I mean, it clearly did. You saw the people that were up at the Capitol protesting, and that human chain of people.
I know
that, and there were mothers and kids' families from Covenant School that were part of that, and it just gives me goosebumps to think about it. But they made a chain.
It's like you said, Emily. The Republicans made them pretty famous. They can go anywhere they want to.
The Tennessee Three are very well. And I have intentionally, I have not called Gloria Johnson. I have her number. But I know she has been inundated. These folks have been on national press and everything. So I didn't want to bother. I wanted to give her some time off anyway to refresh and regroup before I called her again. But I will be trying to have her back on.
Well, I enjoy your show. I'm watching live on YouTube, so enjoying your show. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeff Neal, supporter of our broadcast. Thank you so much.
Even a
go ahead, Kelly.
even a Republican legislator. Let me see. I believe it was Jason Zachary. He posted a Twitter poll asking, what do you feel is the core issue driving the evil acts of violence we are seeing in our country? That's what he posted, and his choices he offered were sin, mental health, breakdown of the family, and guns. And he's a Republican representative.
Right.
And out of his followers, 1% said sin, 7% said mental health, 3% said the breakdown of the family, and 89% said guns. 89% of his Twitter followers responded to his poll that it was guns. Now that kind of indicates that even people who vote Republican realize that something needs to be done, that we should not fear that our children would be gunned down when we send them to school. And that is a vivid fear that parents have. I had that myself when my kids were still in school.
Right.
But I still have it, it's like it can happen at a mall like in Texas. It can happen at a Waffle House. It can happen at a movie theater. It's like you're not safe anywhere. It can happen at a music
private
festival.
A private school.
Yes, a private church school. All of the things that were in that toothless gun, safety at schools law that the Republicans did pass in the state Senate, having locked doors and, they were careful. They did all of their due diligence, and it still happened.
Well, I'm like, they wanted to put more guns in schools, and like one of our guests said, and bless their heart, I can't, anyway, said we've got money for guns, but we don't have any money to feed them. To get them, and I've been a proponent for free lunch for all the children.
Yeah,
all the way through high school.
They have to be there.
They have to be there. Feed them. We have a caller on the line, I think. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Ed, Kelly.
Hey. Who we got here?
Christian.
Christian. Hey, Christian.
Hello, Christian. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Are you home waxing on that AR-15 you've got?
Well, Ed, I'm such a collector of things that aren't meant to be in society.
I'm sure.
No, it's funny you mentioned that. My father, he was in the military, and I think before Vietnam, just a little bit before Vietnam, really ramped up before the Tet Offensive, and he trained on AR-15 or M16, and he looks at today's news. He's a Republican, but he says, son, nobody ought to have these things, and I think he's completely right. But to get to my thing I want to discuss with you guys tonight. As much as we see violence and mass killings quite a bit, it seems as though people who commit these acts come from a not so diverse background.
Yeah.
And even with the one that happened in Texas now, their authorities are kind of insinuating it came from right-wing extremism. And so that may be something that becomes a trend later on. But I think one of the bigger questions here is we had a ban on assault weapons in the 90s. I think we had one. It was repealed later, but regardless, with these upticks, is it something in our democracy or even in our social fabric? Is it perhaps the fear that we have of each other, or political rhetoric we're hearing? Is it all of these things? A couple examples we point to are the young woman who got shot in New York, just pulling into a driveway, or an even more horrendous one was the young African-American child knocking on the door, getting shot in the head, then having to crawl through two different neighborhoods, two different neighbors' yards to get any help.
Then one, the basketball went over in the neighbor's yard, and I mean, this is getting ridiculous, Christian.
It is, and I believe it's fear. I believe it's fear. It's that othering of people, right. And I think that that's kind of a tactic of the extreme conservatism is to kind of puff up a boogeyman so you can be afraid of it.
Yeah, we're coming for you.
We're the ones that can protect you.
They're coming for you.
Right,
they're going
coming
to get
for you. They're coming for your guns. They're coming for your jobs. They're trying to change the fabric of our society.
We don't know who they are, but they're there.
Right, and I understand, that fear of change, especially if you're talking about a societal level, and I think that's kind of what the fear is against extending rights to everyone, people that don't follow the same path that conservative white Christians do.
Sure.
But choosing something different, living a different life, being from somewhere else, that doesn't negate your right to live here and, have the same rights as any other person.
Sure, right.
But it's interesting, though, that a lot of people say it's not the guns.
Yeah.
It is the guns.
It is the guns.
Yeah. You mentioned, Christian, the ban on assault rifles that existed, and that was from the Brady bill, which even though Reagan was a movement conservative,
and Jim Brady was a Republican,
and that was kind of when the NRA entered the political sphere instead of just being about hunter safety.
Yeah, them and Jerry Falwell.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's a whole different conversation.
Well, but if you do notice, however, and sorry, this is the last thing. If you notice that if you look at advertisements for these weapons, they've stopped being something of just, well, here's this weapon as an option. No. It embraces masculinity. It says, well, look at this. You are a man if you have this. We have the most muscular guy here. You want to be a real American patriot, you have this weapon. You want to defend your country. You want to protect your member rights, buy this weapon. And a lot of the NRA money and a lot of gun manufacturers get their money from men who feel as though they're in a different societal space. And I think that's where a lot of fear comes from. So when Democrats and other political groups want to perhaps maybe threaten that place that they're in, that's whenever we see backlash through violence.
I think that's a very valid point. I think it is the guns. It's the how we put them on an altar, kind of above the lives of our children and vulnerable people. I think that it's also that fear, that baseline fear that if you don't have this, someone will attack you. And I think that's what leads to the shooting in New York of the girl that turned into the wrong driveway, or the young man that was going to pick up his siblings and knocked on the wrong door and got shot on his porch.
Just something.
Yeah, there was nothing those people were doing that was threatening except to show up there.
Yeah.
And probably be black, honestly.
That had a lot to do with it, sure.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of the fear that's whipped up. There's racial fear, there's class fear, there's kind of the fear that you will be toppled off your seat of power. And I think that arming people who are whipped up into that fear is a violent recipe, and this is the outcome. There's
no one that's been better at whipping it up than Donald Trump. He's whipped it up pretty good.
Yeah, but I really think he's more of a symptom than.
You may be right.
Okay. I think he's the Yeah, he is the he's the outspoken figurehead of this movement that has been going on for a long time.
Right.
There's also this whole militia movement, and I think that the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, they're all part of that. And they're very machismo and very, very anti-government. You know, it's like they want to collect these guns because they, what they call tyranny, you know, it's like they see the government as the enemy.
Right.
And that's a whole another risk that we're putting ourselves in by letting these out in the public.
Thank you, Kelly. Christian, anything else? We've got to go to our first breaks.
Nope, man. Y'all have a good rest of the night.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your support of this broadcast. Thank you for calling. All right. We're going to go to our first series of breaks. Thanks, Christian. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. All of you that are listening along the way. This is Edwin Lee Raymer Show with Kelly Northcutt, back with you right after this. Hello, everyone. It's Ed with Private Investigations in Middle Tennessee. You know, if you just need someone checked out on a background check, tag number run, or if you need someone full-fledged to follow, give us a call. You can reach me at 615-390-7219. That's 615-390-7219. Or check out our website at piofmt.com. That's piofmt.com.
I felt so alone, scared, angry, full of self-pity. I just wanted to die, so I took another drink. Then I heard about AA and went to my first meeting. The people there talked about those same feelings. I was no longer alone. They gave me help to stop drinking and hope to start living. Alcoholics Anonymous, it works. Look us up. Check your phone book, newspaper, or aa.org.
Hey, this is Ed, everybody. Want to tell you about a sponsor of ours. We've got Complete Yard Care. Their slogan is, we do it all. Low maintenance landscape design, retaining walls, tree removal, stump grinding, lawns cut, mulching, landscaping. Now you can reach them at 615-785-0384. Or you can look them up on the web at CompleteYardCareTN.com. They have a 5-star ranking on Google. That's Complete Yard Care. We do it all. Go to J. Mullins Jewelers and check out their collection of reactor watches. They're located at 352 West Northfield Boulevard right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And also custom-made jewelry. If you want it, they can make it for you. Also gifts for any and all occasions. Weddings, graduations, family reunions, anniversaries, all of it. That's J. Mullins Jewelers, 352 West Northfield Boulevard right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. All right, we are back. Ed Raymer with you with Kelly Northcutt, and we're talking about gun control or lack thereof of it. Kelly, I told you when, of course, everyone knows our son, and when he reached a certain age, I went to go by. He likes to shoot weapons for fun. All of our kid nephews, nieces, everybody shoot skeet. Love to shoot clay targets, and all of them got pretty good at it. Of course, the more you do, the better you get. Mm-hmm. And I went to get him his first target pistol. That's what it was. It was from Tolliver's pawn shop right over here across the road from us, across the street. And I told Kelly this earlier, and so I paid Mark and everything, got everything taken care of, filled out the paperwork. And I said, now how many days before I can pick this up? He said, oh, you can take it with you right now.
Yeah.
I said, really? You know, I couldn't believe. I mean, did you say there used to be a waiting period? Because I thought there was.
Yeah, I don't recall the specifics on that, and I'm not sure about Tennessee law, what it was then. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought, and I think I even asked him. I said, "Are you sure?"
Yeah,
because I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't want to get me in trouble.
It's not like you wanted to get an abortion or something.
Come on, man. But I didn't, I fully expected to wait at least 3 or 4 days, and but a cooling off period, which
right. Yeah.
I've been told I need to have one of those.
Not you. Yeah. Well, they can do the background checks a lot sooner, a lot quicker now than they used to before the advent of computers and things, and so I'm sure that had something to do with it. And it's like I am. I'm well versed with the Constitution of the United States. I used to have a little pocket one that I'd carry around.
I've got one at the
me.
house. I don't carry it with me because
it started falling apart at the corner. So I've gotten a new one, but I don't carry it around as much. And all of the constitutional rights are important.
Yes,
that's why they're in there.
Exactly right.
We also have the ability to, amend that because they couldn't think of everything then, and they clearly
they're called amendments.
Exactly. But there are restrictions to all of the rights that we have.
Yes, ma'am.
There's, the right to peacefully assemble, the freedom of speech. There are limitations to that. Like, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater because that would be a harmful act. You can't stand up in the middle of Supreme Court deliberations and, start screaming, or protesting or anything like that. Some things are an impediment to a free society.
And a reasonable society.
Exactly. But until I guess the last Supreme Court decision that really addressed the Second Amendment that I can, not the last one, but there was a Supreme Court decision in the 40s, 41, I believe it was, that said that the right to bear arms was used in the time of the writing of the Declaration of Independence to mean as a militia, as a military in times of war, that people went, hunting and had, sidearms, for hunting and things like that. Sure. And that was a pretty common thing. You live out in the wilds or you hunt for your own meals. But that was never considered bearing arms. That was just, having a gun for hunting.
Providing for
bearing
yourself.
Arms was limited to militia and military usage. And if you read the Second Amendment, it says, the right, for a well-armed militia, it's not well-armed.
A well-regulated.
Well-regulated militia shall not be infringed.
Right.
And
a well-regulated militia.
A very pivotal section in there that the current definition that the NRA promotes just kind of, handily leaves out.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They address, the right to bear arms, but they don't address, the right to bear arms as a well-regulated militia. And that was basically, written in the time of the Revolutionary War, where we were fighting tyranny. We were protecting our country. Mm-hmm. And the way they did that was militias. They didn't have a standing army at the time. That was still to be.
Well, and a man that gave me this, and we talked about it before we came in, Warren Burger, former Supreme Court Justice, a Republican. I'm talking about a Nixon Republican now. Of course, that's back when a Republican was a Republican, not. And I must say, man, I never ever thought I'd ever say this. I sure miss Barry Goldwater. I miss Richard Nixon because I don't know that either one of them would be a Republican today. I really don't know.
After the age of neocons.
Be that as it may. But, and Rob Mitchell, our county property assessor, who is in charge of regulating our county militia, by the way.
Oh, really?
He is. That's a fact.
I didn't realize that.
It's state sanctioned, I believe, and Rob knows about that. And he told me, he said, go watch, and it's on YouTube, I think, and Justice Burger will explain the Second Amendment to you. Mm-hmm. And I have news for you. A lot of these right-wingers probably wouldn't like it.
Oh, no.
I cannot remember to the T what he said, but I have a feeling, and, any Supreme Court justice, with the exception of 2 or 3 today,
Well, the court
pretty
itself
well
is
knows
being
what
politicized. Yeah.
They know what they're talking about, and Justice Berger did.
Yes.
And he said, basically, because these people, Second Amendment, that's it. Well, it's not. Don't close the book just yet. And you're exactly right. Yeah. And
there
First
are
Amendment,
already,
same way.
Right. There are already limitations as to the kinds of arms you can have.
Sure.
We won't let everybody buy, a nuclear warhead. That's an arm,
I know.
Those are arms. Why can't I have one of those? Why can't I just
don't give anybody any ideas, please. No,
it's like
I know what you're saying.
there are limitations that already exist, and it's
Sure.
because of the nature of the weapon, and after even Reagan, who kind of went arm in arm with the NRA with this new definition of that means an open right for any individual to carry arms. Even he supported the Brady Bill after the assassination attempt on his life and the serious wounding of is it Jim Brady?
It was Jim Brady.
And that was why the Brady Bill was named after him. And when that was enacted, the number of multiple victim killings went down precipitously.
Yes, considerably, and
remained low until that law wasn't overturned. It had a sunset, and it just wasn't
it wasn't enforced anymore.
It wasn't brought up to
Jim Brady and his wife. I remember when they addressed the Democratic convention. They addressed the Democratic convention because he was feeling a little better at that time, and they had passed this legislation. And I'll admit, he came out, and his wife said, "Jim, I think we made a wrong turn somewhere."
That's funny.
Yeah, but that's back when things were a lot different.
Yes,
and even, I got to tell you this, you're no old woman, but you're old enough to remember those days, too, because you've studied politics,
I remember Reagan,
I remember the name. I always joke around, the last date I had was during the Carter administration, so okay, we'll take your calls at 615-893-1450. If you'd like to call in, we'd be glad to take them for you. Kelly Northcutt's my guest tonight. Kelly, what we're talking about here, just to cut and dry, we're talking about money from the NRA. We're talking about funding for their campaigns.
Yeah.
And goodness only knows where this money goes and how it's spent. And it's in the millions of dollars. It has to be.
Yeah, it has to be. And they, the NRA will rate candidates. When I was running, I got a questionnaire that, asked about my stance on different gun issues and what I supported. I never filled it out and turned it in because I knew my rating would probably be a negative number.
Be up there.
And, the difference in, Jeff was mentioning New Zealand and Australia, where they they just took all the guns away.
Sure.
It's like we're just going to collect them all and pay you back for them. The difference is they can do that because they don't have the Second Amendment and they don't have various interpretations of it. We do, and and that makes it a different breed to deal with here. But I don't think that common sense reforms on who can own weapons, what type are available to just, the average Joe. I don't think that inhibits our right to own guns. I don't think it tramples the Second Amendment at all. What it does is it places that same respect for rights onto every citizen that is being negatively impacted on a daily basis and more than once a day, if the numbers are true, that they have to fear for their life and actually give up their life at the altar of your guns.
I'm telling you, Jerry Burton, Stu Miller, thanks for listening in. Carol Ann Elmore, thank you. Carolyn Cox is listening, I believe. I'm pretty sure. Stu, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Trying to get back to Kelly, you're a popular lady.
It's a hot button issue. I think that helps a lot.
Yes, no doubt about that. And by the way, you can watch us on YouTube if you're in your car or whatever. You can find us on YouTube. We're there right now. You can see Kelly's pretty face on the camera. I've been told that we're not to move the cameras, so that's the reason you're not seeing me. There's my hand high, so we're told not to move the cameras. So we're doing exactly as our marching orders are here at good old WGNS.
They don't get to see you, Ed?
No, don't get to see my beautiful face.
I could draw a picture and hold it over. Yeah.
Okay.
Like a news person with the over-the-shoulder.
Yeah,
I'll
you do that. Yeah.
I'm talented. I have that. Yeah.
Kelly, you've been in this game, and like I said, ladies and gentlemen, this lady's put her name on a ballot a few times. Where do you find out how much money these people are getting from NRA? Is there a source that has this, a website that people can go to? What is it?
Oh, yeah. You can go to Open Secrets. I think it's .com.
Yeah.
And you can look up any that might just be for federal candidates.
Right.
But you can go to the Secretary of State's website and you can check out any candidate or any elected official. You can see who donates to them. And it's spelled out, whether it's a PAC, of course, because of funding laws and corporations being people, you don't always know who is contributing to the PACs, but you can see what PACs are donating. You can see who as individuals donated, and there are limitations. There's a lot to do with campaign finance laws, but there's not a lot that needs to be updated. And there's no secret that the NRA is funding a lot of candidates. There's also no secret that most of the laws that are being enacted, not just in Tennessee, but in states across the United States, they're boilerplate laws. They're the same laws because ALEC is writing these laws and they're passing them in multiple states at a time. It's kind of this.
What is ALEC?
Wow.
You knew I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I might have to Google that.
Okay, all right, that's okay.
It's a conservative think tank that
there are no conservative thinkers, so
yeah, it's kind of a
it's become confusing, and that's by design. PACs and all this.
Yes, yeah,
it's by design.
It's not confusion; it's obfuscation. Yeah,
right.
They are making it difficult to follow the money to the root, and of course that applies to both sides of the aisle. But it's like with some reform, we could make that a much more. We could shine a light on that and make it much more obvious.
I agree.
But the thing is, the politicians are beholden to the NRA for the amount of money that they give and for the rating that they give that makes that people look for in order to donate to candidates. But they're introducing laws that are solutions in search of a problem. It's like we didn't have a problem with too many people being denied weapons licenses, yet they decided that they should pass permitless carry. It's like because they're more, they wanted to be more emboldened with pro NRA kind of things, but also, it's like everything from the education laws, the anti-trans bills, the getting rid of any common sense gun laws, all of that isn't the state legislators reacting to their constituents and what they want. It's the state legislators reacting to this think tank that is a conservative source of all of these laws.
Right. And folks, let me say this. I want to say this to you. If what we're saying, if you don't agree with and you think we're lying, pick up phone calls. If I have ever intentionally lied to you, pick up phone, call me. Okay? They had that little Kyle Rittenhouse that was in that, was it Chicago or where I forget where they were, in Minnesota. I believe. And they took him to the CPAC thing as a featured speaker. He's only 18 years old, I think.
Yeah.
I had people that leaned to the right and said, "Oh, that's ridiculous." But they're not going to come out here and sit behind a microphone and say that.
Right.
You're a cloth, like Chris Matthews. These are the cloth coat Republicans. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
That's what they are. I mean, you really don't believe in everything that party's pushing.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people that don't.
You don't believe in that.
Yeah, once it started to talk about, belittling our educators and our educational institutions,
right.
It's like that. It started kind of crumbling. It started chipping away. I believe that the Covenant School shooting, it's kind of chipping away.
And that's
even the one of the officers in the Southern Baptist Convention wrote an open letter to Governor Bill Lee, asking him, pleading with him to make this not a political issue, to make it an issue of safety and protecting the most vulnerable among us, to pass some common sense gun reform.
I couldn't agree more.
But it was really surprising that
Right.
someone from the Southern Baptist Convention, first of all, would speak out so publicly about what has become a political hot button issue, and would come down on the side of passing common sense gun reform laws. That really was a sea change, I believe. And I think that it's beginning to hit home for a lot more people that are thinking enough is enough. All of those people that showed up at the state capitol to join arm in arm from the Capitol to
and
Vanderbilt
especially our
Children's
young
Hospital.
people. Our young people.
Right,
Yeah.
but all of those people were not Democrats. All of those people were not Antifa. It's like there were Republican religious people. There were just families that are just tired of living in fear daily, just to give someone the right to legally purchase a gun. And then a lot of people say, if somebody's intent on, committing a crime, they're going to do it anyway. The thing is, the Covenant School shooter followed all the laws.
Sure.
There wasn't
Right.
anything they did illegal until they took that first shot.
Took the first shot.
And that
Right.
is the case with a lot of the shooters, is that they get their guns legally. They get their body armor legally.
Right.
And, enforcing the laws, bringing back, people are saying, if there's a good guy with a gun there, that'll deter them.
Yeah,
They go into those
yeah.
knowing they will be shot, sometimes killing themselves at the end, or at least knowing they'll be killed. And that's in the notes that they leave. So the act of,
Right.
the fact that they would get shot will not be a deterrent. They
No.
go in there
No,
with
no.
that in mind.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's no deterrent that would keep them from doing that. What you have to
Sure.
do is keep them from being armed with a weapon that is just made to be efficient at killing.
That's what it's made for.
That's what it's made
That's
for.
what it's made for. It's made to take life.
And you
It's-
talk to doctors that see these patients, because it's not just that it's a high capacity magazine. It's not just that it's a semi-automatic rapid fire. It's that these are high velocity bullets and they just explode.
Exactly.
So even if you get them to the hospital, there's nothing that a doctor can do to fix that.
Unfortunately, a lot of doctors have said they cannot even recognize a patient. When
Yeah.
They couldn't make out.
And that's
In
just
the
horrifying.
Uvalde shooting
Yeah.
was horrible. Any of the shootings are horrible. Don't get me
They've
wrong.
all been, yeah.
It's. But I want to tell you something. It's getting to the point with me. It's disgraceful to our country that
It is.
politicians will not say, "Look, it's been a good drive. It's been a good ride, but enough is enough."
Yeah, just have the guts to stand up, even if it's standing up against the NRA. I guarantee you'll replace those contributions by people that are fed up.
Right. I think we've got a caller on the line. Hang on just a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. Go ahead. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was calling in. There's a very important issue with guns that y'all haven't touched on yet tonight.
And what is that?
Children getting hold of guns
yeah.
and shooting themselves or their siblings or their parents.
Or playmates. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Is this Arnold?
you can't. Yes, it is.
Hi,
It's
Arnold.
Is that AJ?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry to blow your cover.
You're right. That is very much a big concern, and I believe that when we used to when you had to get a permit to carry or a permit to have a weapon.
Sure.
It's like, I think that, gun safety courses and safe storage methods are important as well.
Yes.
And when you introduce permitless carry, then you lose that vital opportunity to make sure people understand the risks that exist when you don't store them safely, when you don't store the ammunition away from it, when you don't you're not trained for safe handling and safe keeping.
Yeah, and AJ, I think don't the police have trigger locks that they sell? I mean, they're really like $1 or $2 a piece.
Yeah.
It's no big, do you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think they are that they give them away for free. All you got to do is ask for one.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say that. I don't know. I had heard that, I believe, somewhere, but now I don't know how valid that is. But hopefully they do.
Well,
but you're exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
People just leaving a gun laying around and all that. We have at our house there. We have a lock on a certain closet where we keep our weapons, and when we're having a family get together, that door's locked.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now our children, of course, it gets to be a habit. Our children are grown. It's just me and the wife there at the house. But when the little ones are coming over, you got to remember, hey, better put this up.
Oh,
and, because anything can happen. Because a lot of kids, I had a good friend. Well, I'll tell you who it was Charlie Goodlow. Charlie's no longer with us, but he used to go give talks at schools. Okay, and AJ, you're exactly right. And he said lots of times, and we talked about it one night. I was over at his house. We were talking about guns. This is years ago. And he said, when I go to talk anymore, he said, lots of times I'll take my weapon off because if we're not careful. He said, I go in and I catch all the kids are looking at my gun instead of listening to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
They're curious about it. There's fascination about it. It is. And they some of them are impressive,
Well, and kids have a natural curiosity.
They
That's
have
how
a
they
natural
grow and
curiosity,
learn.
right.
You have to protect kids
and he at least would do that.
Things
Charlie,
like that.
Charlie would take his weapon off and leave it out in the cruiser or whatever he was driving that day. And because he said, I don't want them to be looking at the weapon as much as listening to what we have to say.
Exactly. Yeah, and that is an important point about handgun control as well.
Exactly.
Even if it's not an AR-15, just to
Very
make sure
good point,
that
AJ.
you don't leave it out. You store it safely, and teach children not to play with them, not to handle them.
Sure.
And something else we really haven't addressed yet, and that was one of the things that Governor Bill Lee came out in favor of is he didn't want to use the term red flag laws, but basically the ability to temporarily confiscate weapons from people who have threatened violence or who have committed domestic violence,
Sure.
things that, or have had mental health issues where you think they may hurt themselves or others. Sure. And I think that is the first step in common sense gun reform, is to make sure that those laws are on the books, because I think that could help a lot of help intervene in a lot of instances of both suicide and mass shootings.
Thanks, Kelly. AJ, anything else? We've got to go to our final break. Anything else? Good to hear from you.
Yeah, no, that's all. But this issue is going to continue.
I'm afraid
Sadly.
You're right, my friend. I'll see you on Facebook, okay?
All right. Have a good
Thank you, AJ. Glad to have him with us and glad for his support of this broadcast. We're going to go to our final series of breaks. Jackson's going to take us there. Kelly Northcutt is with me tonight here on the Edwin Lee Raymer Show. I'm Ed Raymer, back with you right after this. Hello, everyone. It's Ed with Private Investigations in Middle Tennessee. If you just need someone checked out on a background check, a tag number run, or if you need someone full-fledged to follow, give us a call. You can reach me at 615-390-7219. That's 615-390-7219. Or check out our website at piofmt.com. That's piofmt.com.
I felt so alone, scared, angry, full of self-pity. I just wanted to die, so I took another drink. Then I heard about AA and went to my first meeting. The people there talked about those same feelings. I was no longer alone. They gave me help to stop drinking and hope to start living. Alcoholics Anonymous, it works. Look us up. Check your phone book, newspaper, or AA.org.
Hey, this is Ed, everybody. Want to tell you about a sponsor of ours. We've got Complete Yard Care. Their slogan is, we do it all. Low maintenance landscape design, retaining walls, tree removal, stump grinding, lawns cut, mulching, landscaping. Now you can reach them at 615-785-0384. Or you can look them up on the web at CompleteYardCareTN.com. They have a 5-star ranking on Google. That's Complete Yard Care. We do it all. Go to J. Mullins Jewelers and check out their collection of reactor watches. They're located at 352 West Northfield Boulevard right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And also custom-made jewelry. If you want it, they can make it for you. Also gifts for any and all occasions. Weddings, graduations, family reunions, anniversaries, all of it. That's J. Mullins Jewelers, 352 West Northfield Boulevard right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. We're back with you. Kelly Northcutt's with us.
Hey.
Mr. Murfreesboro Bill Wilson is here. He's going to be on the air in a minute. Got a great guest with him. And Jackson, I want you to play. Ladies and gentlemen, I never watched this man's broadcast, his show, The Late Late Show with James Corden. Now, I'll tell you, I never watched him that much. But Jackson's been good enough to pull this up off YouTube from James's final show. And what he had to say. He's going back to London. He and his wife, they have 3 children. And I wanted to play this. And it doesn't really go what Kelly and I are talking about tonight, but he drives home a great point. Jackson, go ahead.
America. Moving here to America 8 years ago, it was a huge leap for me, my family. My son was 3, our daughter was 12 weeks old, and we now have another small person, and she's American. But we started this show. We started with Obama, then Trump, then a global pandemic, and I've watched America change a lot over these past few years. I've watched divisions grow, and I've seen, and I've felt a sense of negativity bubble and at points boil over. And I guess all I really want to say tonight is I implore you to remember what America signifies to the rest of the world. My entire life, it has always been a place of optimism and joy. And yes, it has flaws, so many, but show me a country that doesn't. Show me a person that doesn't. Me, you, all of us, we are all trying to figure this out. We are, every single one of us, a work in progress. And just because somebody disagrees with you, it doesn't make them bad or evil. We are all more the same than we are different. And there are so many people. There are so many people who are trying to stoke those differences. And we have to try as best we can to look for the light. Look for the joy, because if you do, it's out there. And that's all this show has ever been about. All we've ever wanted is just be a little bit of light and levity at the end of your day. Thank you for letting me do this. Thank you for letting me into your home every night.
Thank you, Jackson. What do you think, Kelly?
I think that's a really important message.
Coming from a man
yeah.
who's not even a citizen of the country, probably, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, sometimes you have a clearer view when you're an outsider. You know, you can look at things more critically. And I think that, you know, this issue especially is so polarizing. The issue of gun rights versus gun safety versus gun reform. It's a very polarizing issue.
And they've made abortion that way, too. And I don't want to get off on that.
And now education and immigration. There's so many things that can polarize us. And I really think a lot of that othering of people, of us and them mentality, it's like that's what we have to get over. And the only way to do that is to reach out and talk to somebody different than you.
And talk.
Yes, and listen.
Listen.
That's
Don't just
the biggest
hear.
thing.
Listen.
Don't just wait for your turn to rant.
I understand.
To
and I'm the world's
listen.
worst. I'm the world's worst.
And it's very easy to have strong opinions on these things, and that's makes it all the more important that you reach out and recognize the humanity of somebody else.
Kelly, I want to thank you for doing this tonight again and do that publicly. Thank you. She's always been a great guest, very knowledgeable, a fine lady, and glad to call you a friend. I hope you refer to me that way. But
most of the time.
Somebody said, I told one of our friends that I'm having Kathy on. I said, well, you won't get a word in edgeways tonight, buddy. I said, yeah, I got that right. But that's fine. That's what I want. And, James Corden was right to stoke those differences, to throw that wedge in there and separate, and I see they're coming for you, like we were talking a while ago.
Yeah.
They're coming for you, Kelly. They're coming. We don't know who they are, but they're there,
Yeah,
and they're not. That's
and the only way you can believe somebody's manufactured definition of somebody else is to not know them. If you reach out and you get to know someone in one of those other groups that's being vilified or painted as the they that is supposed to do something, that starts to break down those barriers. It starts to humanize them. It makes you see them as an individual instead of a nameless, faceless, label.
I look at the recent ad I've seen, and you may have seen it as well. The father's talking to his teenage son in the car, and he's talking about and at the end of it says the slogan "Hitler was right" appeared on social media more than 70,000 times last year. Now I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's in this ad. And he says, you're talking about this, you're talking about that, you're posting this. And they backed the camera off and said, well, go tell him. And he's at a Jewish, I guess a synagogue or a school, synagogue. And the kid just sits there. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not as easy to do as you think. These shows that I do, see, I've had a lot of people, and Kelly, you know this, when I first started this thing, well, what are you going to do when those Republicans start calling in and disagreeing? I don't care. They're welcome to call. But this is not Facebook.
Yeah. Please, if you disagree, call in and let's talk.
Please call in, let's have a talk.
Yeah, I'm more than willing.
This lady here is willing to talk to you. Believe me, and fellas, believe me, she'll talk to you all day and all night. Now you better be sure what you're listening for. And I got a lot of these ladies that'll do that. They'll talk to you good. I'm telling you. But there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. And yes, she's strong in her opinions, but she is reasonable. Be reasonable, for goodness sakes. Come on, people. Putting public money in private schools, oh, man, I've never seen such a turnaround. With some of our local politicians, I've never seen such a turnaround.
Yeah, usually by the people that want less taxation, and yet you want to send the tax dollars somewhere else. Yeah.
To all of you.
That's a whole different tangent. Yeah.
I'm going to let Jackson play us out. We're going to get Bill in here. His guest is here, and they're ready to go.
Thank you, Ed.
I've
enjoyed this, and
thank you very much.
I look forward to whatever we talk about next.
Kelly Northcutt been with me till next Sunday. My name's Ed Raymer, and I'll catch you down the road next Sunday at 8 o'clock. Good night.